Welcome to the No Love Podcast, where we decrease tomorrow's divorce rate today by teaching singles and couples alike how to experience love on purpose and not by chance. I'm your host, Edward L. Fairley, accompanied by my wonderful, lovely co-host, Michelle Larkin. Michelle, say hi to the people.
What's up? In the Rona. Drop it, be quiet. Hey, y'all.
Okay, all right. You know how we do. We start off. What's going on? It's been a couple of weeks here. We took a bye week. I'll explain that in a moment because it kind of assists in the topic for today. So what's going on with you? What should we for?
I am blessed to be a blessing. I'm gonna say that I'm blessed to be a blessing, and I don't mean that as pie in the sky, soft, mushy stuff. I mean, I have been tapped on this week to do a Queen's Moves class virtually. I think the link is on my Facebook page. I put it out there a couple different places, but overwhelming responses. I'm really looking forward to. It's the Saturday the 25th, and just being able to help people frame their strategies for moving through this, right? And doing it from an encouraging alongside space. It's been rewarding. I'm gonna tell you, I had 3 people tell me this week, "Oh my God, could you get into this conversation? I don't have people out here doing it look like me," which is really sad in one space, but also grateful that honestly the life experience I have has put me in a position to be able to help somebody at this time. And I say that to say all the things that we talk about, all the things that we go to get to knowing love, and the hurdles that we go through, and the heartbreak gives us a space, a testimony, a story that honestly in the most hurtful or maybe the most pivotal time of need for someone, you now have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And I feel very much like that. Like, I have gone through some things. I've managed a lot of transition in my life, and to be able to be in this space helping other people realize it's just a change. The world is not dying. It's morphing. It's adapting. It's changing, but it's not dying, and that is uncomfortable, but it's navigatable. So that's where I am. I'm excited about it, and looking forward to it.
That is pretty great. Actually, awesome. Actually, I'm happy for you. It's definitely fulfilling to be able to share, to inspire, and to encourage others. So that is definitely a wonderful feeling and a wonderful experience. So to get to have that is just always wonderful. As far as me, I've been doing a lot of, actually it's similar to what it is that we're about to do this Saturday, but for the last 3 weeks, this Saturday evening is my last week. There's actually been a family / community of people it's a mixture of persons who are single, who are married, who are divorced, just a diverse group of people who I've been meeting with on Saturday nights from 8 o'clock on Zoom, where everybody can see each other, questions about sex, their spouses, themselves. There's been a lot of breakthroughs in just conversing about anything revolving around relationships and love, single, in a relationship, married, whatever. So that has been extremely fulfilling. Again, this is my last week with this group of people, and it was also great to do because Michelle and I had already been planning on doing like a Zoom where you all get an opportunity to just ask me anything. This platform is more of me teaching and you all commenting on what it is that I'm teaching, as opposed to you all having questions, concerns, feedback, and us just having a round table private talk. And it's definitely a different dynamic, so much so where like that session was private. It wouldn't be able to be put on this platform because of how open and honest and transparent people are, and how I am in my response, because it's more of a how I operate when we're in an intimate setting, and that truth that honest truth that Michelle and so many others who know me talk about, where they're like, y'all don't know the half of it. This like, so you get that side of me where it's like we have to be honest with what's actually happening, how to process it, and how to move forward and how to evolve from it. So that's the type of meeting we're having this Saturday. And if you look down below my regular Edward L. Fairley page, I also put it on the Facebook page, the No Love Facebook page, as well as I think my LinkedIn page as well. You can click on the free registration link so that you can experience that if you are interested. And it's at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, this up and coming Saturday, until I'm not sure.
I say 10 to 12, but you never know, because
yeah,
you don't
I'm
know
just saying right now,
pop off. So
depending on what the questions are, like for example, I don't know if it's the quarantine or just good content and communication through the community. I mean, it's literally 15 to 20 people that are up there asking questions, and we're just diving in and just being open and honest. But we were going from 8 o'clock to like 11:30 and not even feeling that 3 hours, because like I said, I don't know if it's the quarantine and we just need that social interaction, or it was just the information that we were all sharing and growing from. And also, as I stated, this is the last week of, I think it's going on 4 now, whereby the questions aren't even the same. So to watch people grow in that short period of time, because of how intimate it has definitely been fulfilling, which is why I can really, really relate to what you were saying a moment ago about pouring into people and sharing, and then the inboxes that I'm getting from those people and the relationships that have evolved, and to hear people make statements like, and the reason why I love, or I like No Love, just without even thinking about it, like they've adopted and grasped the movement and the concept behind the movement. And it's just so fulfilling and amazing, and I absolutely love it. So if you're interested,
we want you to be a part of that. So yeah. On Saturday at 10 a.m., come into a private room where we can take the gloves off a little bit, have a real conversation where we can like dig in and answer your questions in real time. It'll be, like I said, closed, and all you gotta do is send that link and you register and you'll get the information right away. I know it's short notice, but we're in quarantine. What we got to do on Saturday? I mean, really. So I'm looking forward to engaging with you guys as well. I've had some stories I can't be sharing out here, but I would definitely share in the private space. So we look forward to that. But over this week, I've noticed and I read a couple of articles about the divorce rate is skyrocketing during this quarantine. More lawyers have been communicated with, more people separating themselves in their house. Like, the relationships are really being stressed right now. And if this Saturday conversation is an opportunity to kind of check in, see if there's a way to kind of moderate any anxiety you may be feeling, this is a great safe space to do that. Again, not something you can do in a Facebook Live, but Saturday will be a great time to just check in with yourself and see how things are going. So I look forward to seeing you. I know Eddie's going to be on point.
Another thing that's worth appreciating, loving yourself and singleness, is another thing that has gone or skyrocketing. If you really think about it, you can see why, is domestic violence. In this quarantine type situation, people don't have a way out, or you have people that have lost jobs, making them even more upset than what they were when they did have an income, causing them to strike or abuse their partner, which is really, really unfortunate. And this is why it's important that we get to a place where we love ourselves and one another. It seems like you have something to say.
The other thing I was thinking, because we're talking about relationships, but again, isolation, not aloneness. This is not loneliness. This is isolation. Is a tough thing for people who are alone in their homes or are not being around people. I just went to my friend's house to drop off a mask, actually, and we of course couldn't touch each other, and we're handing it off through the door and all this kind of nonsense, but it just feels awkward. And there's a weirdness about that because part of relating is being in the presence of people. And this is a shift. This is a huge shift to be totally virtual. It is intellectually stimulating, but it's not the same as physically being in space. And that could cause and trigger some uncertainty, some stress too. So it's definitely worth checking in on yourself and being in a safe place to be able to ask some crazy questions or ask some questions you don't feel comfortable asking somebody else.
Most certainly. Well, we started late, so let's jump into this topic. First, I'm going to kind of give you a backstory. First, I'll share. And the only reason why I'm sharing, because I'm really a private person. The only reason why I'll share is because it kind of aligns with this particular topic. And the actual topic, or the title of today's topic, is "Let Go to Gain Control," which clearly seems like an oxymoron. Let go to gain control. How in the world do you let go to gain control? By the end of this session, of course, you'll better understand. But I do want to give you the conversation that birthed the need for this conversation. So I got a call from someone last week, and I contacted them back, and we were talking, and of course by that time I had already advised that the show was canceled. The show was canceled by force by Michelle. Michelle said it's not a good idea, and I'm like, okay, it's not a good idea. But the reason why Michelle said it's not a good idea for us to have the show last week was because last week my grandfather died because of COVID-19. Michelle didn't even know that my grandfather was in the hospital. This is how private I am. I'm not a big fan of people calling, "Are you okay?" And things of that nature. I wish you all well. I'm praying for y'all. Oh, my condolences. I don't really like all of that attention. I just don't. But Michelle, after conversing with Michelle, she was like, I was like, I think we still could do the show. And Michelle's like, no, your grandfather passed. She hit me with the God family business situation. I'm like,
saying, you put it out there. I was just repeating back to you.
Hit me with the God family business. So even my boss had to tell, because I was gonna go back to work, and she was like, "You have bereavement. Like, you're gonna have people calling you and telling you about." She's like, "No, you need to chill. Just take some time." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." So I gave you that backstory to share. My grandfather passed last Thursday due to COVID-19. He was 85 years of age. This whole COVID thing is a very interesting dynamic. For one, just to give you how much of a mindset shift this thing has on people. My mom and them couldn't see their father in his deathbed. They couldn't see him through. They had to go so far as to get creative enough to think of, okay, because during the last days it was found out that he was very uncomfortable and in pain, and they're like, man, we can't even talk to him. We don't know if he's fighting for us because he didn't get to say goodbye. So they're thinking, okay, well, we need to probably get creative and do an audio recording so they can play in his ear under the ventilator to say, hey, daddy, if you're fighting for us, it's okay to rest. So they couldn't even speak to their father to say goodbye, or to let him know that it was okay to leave if he was staying, to prevent them, so that he could say goodbye. Not to mention my grandfather he's diagnosed with dementia. All right, so I shared all that backstory to set up this whole conversation. So I'm like, we need to still do the show. My grandfather's gone. It doesn't change the fact that he's gone. He's going to be gone the following week. We need to still spread love and things of that nature. So the young lady called to talk about business, and she saw that we didn't have the show. And I told her, what had happened, why I did not do the show on Thursday. And then as soon as I finished with that, I'm like, but you clearly didn't call to hear about that. So what's going on? And she was like, what? What? She said, I'm going to be honest with you. She said, this is between you and I. Clearly it's not between you and I now, or her and I now. She said, and I can't help but laugh. She said, do you have Asperger's? I'm like she didn't. I didn't hear.
I
didn't hear a chuckle in her conversation. She said, "Do you have Asperger's?" And I'm like, "What?" She said, "No." She said, "You're." She said, "No." She said, You've always. Every time I know you're very smart." She said, "High IQ," but she said, like, your grandfather died. Like every time something emotional, she's like, do you have Asperger's? So I'm like, no, and I kind of chuckled. I'm like, first and foremost, I would be so lucky to have the intellect of someone with Asperger's or autism. I know.
Amen.
I know Amen. Multiple Amen. Persons.
Amen.
With with autism or Asperger's, and I personally think if we could have that kind of authenticity and truth, the world would be such a better place. So let me first and foremost express that my laughing was not as an insult, to be perfectly honest with you, which again aligns with who I am and how I take stuff. That technically is a compliment to me that you could even say that I have Asperger's, even though she was like, I have no kind of feeling or something. And that's just not true. It's not true. I do have,
I would agree. It's deep.
And a knowledge that allows for me to not get so emotional about things that often other people do. And this is why we have to go into this topic called let go to gain control. And there's multiple, but I'm going to talk about 3 things that I have identified that we need to let go to gain control over so many things. And I'll identify what those are. But that is what birthed this conversation. I can tell that even like last week or the week before last, as I'm conversing with actually David Jamel, and I see he's here. How you doing, sir? My interaction between he and I, when I'm like, well, people hear me say, well, I don't care. It's okay. I don't care. I'm not trying to prove you wrong or get you to adopt my thoughts. I don't care. And David Jamel did not take it the way that a lot of people heard it. And that's because David Jamel, Isaac Williams, he knows me like those who are in my circle know me. But the persons that heard it and they're like, man, he kind of rough today. Is like, for one, it's not coming from a hateful place. 2, it's deeper than icebergs, what we were on last week, than what it is that you're seeing on the surface. So let's go ahead and dive into this whole let go to gain control situation here. And they're like, thank God for Michelle. Good job, Michelle. Basically saying, sit my tail down. Okay, I hear y'all. But he says there's so much truth in that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the let's go to gain control. The first point, I'm going to spend a lot of time on it because I know that's pretty much the root of all of this. And the first let go to gain control is let go of people to gain control of yourself. Let go of people to gain control of yourself. Now, a lot of people, like I said, when people like, they'll share something with me or say something, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. And it's not that I don't care about the person. I consider how people feel, but I don't have a vested interest in changing how they feel.
Hashtag 9, everybody.
All right,
Ready? Yeah, that's a hashtag 9 moment.
So let me. So it's been a while since we explained this whole hashtag 9 thing. So for those who are new to it, hashtag 9 basically means that a truth has been spoken, some aha moment or a wow moment or whatever you would like to call it in this day and time, a 100 moment emoji. It is something that has been said that is like, wow, that's something worth considering, or I never thought about it that way, or it's profound, however you want to put it. But either way, I'm gonna say it again. I said I consider how people feel, but I don't have a vested interest in changing how they feel. So what's funny is oftentimes people don't think I consider how they feel. When I'm definite, I can articulate better than you can how you feel. I can tell you the emotions, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and everything. And I challenge anyone whenever I make you feel a certain way. Oftentimes, if you're in my inner circle, when I get to a place where I think you don't get what I'm saying or that I don't understand how you feel, I will give you a story that aligns with how you feel and what you experience, just so I can.
It's annoying as heck. Let me tell you. You like, all right, I read.
So that's my way, Mr.
We love you.
Mr. Asperger's, of saying, like, please, like, don't get my response twisted with how I can emote with you, how I can feel what it is that's going on with your situation.
You have empathy. You have a great deal of empathy.
Yeah. Wow. But it does not dictate or change the truth about what is happening. And what happens is, and I promise you, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was maybe 18 or 19 years old. I spent most of my high school years, especially in my senior year, a lot of migraines and a lot of stress over me wanting my mom to stop using drugs. Me wanting what's best for my mother, wanting her to change and stop doing the drugs and having all of these decisions that I needed to make for my family to be right, or at least what was in my mind. And when I came to the realization that people are going to do whatever it is that they want to do, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do to change them, that was one of the best days and most liberating days of my life. When I came to the conclusion that my job is to share, even from a biblical stance, is to share the gospel. It doesn't say nurture it, doesn't say make sure that they turn. Even the statement when people say train up a child in the way they should go, that scripture, it says they should go. It doesn't say they will go. It says you do your part and hopefully this is going to work out. It's biblical, but we want to own and shape and form and twist and control things that we have absolutely no control over. And when I came to this realization that it's my job to share, which is what I was having that conversation with David Jamel last week, is basically I shared what I have to share. How you process it,
up to you.
What you do with it, that's up to you. You're literally still here. If you don't like what it is that you're hearing, you can leave. Like, I've had people that responded to a comment on my wall. Did you read or did you hear what I said, what you said? I mean, what I said about what you said on your wall? I was like, no, I didn't read what you
I don't read that, man.
said about what I said on my wall. I said, well, what do you think about it? I don't. And people hate that. Like, I don't think about it. I already, you know what I think because that's what I posted. Like, I didn't, if I thought something different, you wouldn't have replied differently to my post. So I don't share to change. I share to share. And if I share it on my wall, that's how I feel. Unless you say something that's really going to cause me to question or shift, which I can also assure you, I've challenged myself numerous times before I shared. So it's very rare that you're going to come at me with something that I didn't already consider or think about to where I'm going to change my mind. I always try to poke holes in what it is I share with y'all because I'm concerned about my words, which give life or death, killing you all. So I take my platform very, very seriously, and I would definitely investigate and interrogate my thoughts and what it is that I'm sharing so that I'm better equipped to help you all as I'm helping myself. So letting go of people to gain control of yourself. So the interesting thing about this, if you really think about it, loving someone isn't trying to change them. It's accepting them the way that they are. And
hold on, pause.
Okay.
You need to say that slower because that's a paradigm shift for most.
Okay.
That is a paradigm shift.
Okay. So I'll say it slower. So loving someone isn't trying to change them. It's accepting them the way that they are.
Pause. Right now.
Right now, at that moment.
Right now.
Who they are.
The way they are in your mind.
Who they are. Yeah, exactly.
Or the way they were yesterday.
That's right. That's right.
The way they are right now.
That's right.
Or just accept it. That doesn't mean you can't address your concerns.
That's right.
But the love part accepts that this is who you are right this minute.
Exactly. So now the interesting, which I'm gonna break this down because it shows how releasing or letting go helps you indirectly gain control, because typically when we try to change people, it's for our benefit. So it's really selfish. If you really, really think about it,
just do what I want you to do.
The people that you're trying to change,
just do what I said.
It ain't for them. Like even for my mom, like me stressing about her doing drugs or whatever, of course I don't want to see my mom disintegrate or what have you. But even at that point, I didn't necessarily see the impact that drugs had on my mom. I just knew she did drugs and I concluded that it was wrong. And I wanted a certain type of mom, period. So I'm thinking that if I alleviate her of the need for drugs or want for drugs, I'd have the mom that I want. Had absolutely nothing to do with her. And typically when we want to change people, it's for our benefit. It has nothing to do with love. It's a selfish motive. Now, the interesting thing about it, for you selfish people, I'm about to give you a nugget to help you with your selfishness. The interesting thing about it is trying to change people drives them away to the people who are accepting of them, which are people who are like them. So actually all you're going to do is help them to consume more of the behaviors that you don't like about them. But if you accept them for how they are, they gravitate towards you and unknowingly begin to adopt your habits and philosophies, which assist in their changing. But what we do is we go so hard at what we don't like about them, we reject them or push them away so that they can feel comfortable.
Showing our ugly self. Because if you're constantly telling somebody what you don't like about them, you're showing your ugly side constantly. So what do they see? The I don't like side. That's what they see.
But yeah,
I'm a runner, so I'm a former runner. I'm calming down, slowing down. But a runner wants to have that new acceptance every time. So every time you annoy me, then I'm gonna go find that, like you said, you're annoying me, so you're gonna push me away, and I'm gonna go find somebody who accepts me for who I am today. I keep wanting the rush, the intoxication of that fresh acceptance, which is what you're saying. When you accept somebody all the time, they're constantly getting that. You know what I mean? So they don't have to go look for that, but they like me for who I am.
Yeah.
They only like you're projecting, you're representative. That's what they like.
And what's funny about this whole statement is and I'm putting up the quotation fingers for those who are listening to me via audio. As rude as people try to conclude that I am, they always come back. They're telling me that I'm rude, which means they're around me. Let's analyze the whole thing.
Clear.
You're so rude, but you called me. You're so rude, but you came to me.
And you don't hang up on me. You keep talking. Exactly. You're not hanging up on me and walking away.
Because for one, people want the truth. Two, I do not judge people. I can tell you that right now. I don't judge you. I'm not trying to change you. Like I said, I'll share. And the only time I share, that's the crazy thing about it. Only time I share is when people ask me. I don't just offer any kind of solutions or tell people what they need to do. I never do it. Matter of fact, if you pay attention to me, when I converse and interact with people, it's always in questions. It's always in questions. So I make you answer the question to your question, and you get frustrated and you call me rude, a butthole, or whatever it is, whatever nice way you want to call it. Exactly. So you call me rude, but I never say anything. I just ask you questions that make you think about what it is that you're asking. Thinking.
You're making me uncomfortable.
Or feeling.
Really, you're making me uncomfortable, and I don't like it.
But again, those same people, they continuously come around me or seek my my companionship or
advice, insight.
Yeah, my insight, my conversation or what have you, which means they do want the truth. But so I had a young lady tell me, well, I would normally do it, but I think hearing my voice all the time prevents them from learning. I'm like, well, that sounds good, which we'll get on that too. I said, but more than likely, if people aren't receptive to your teaching, it's just your teaching. You might want to just change how you teach. So it's not necessarily that they don't get it. It's just because it's you. It might be.
I think that what you're saying also allows you to be more authentic in your communication. When you're what did you say? When I don't have a vested interest in changing how they feel.
Yeah. It
also liberates you to your point of being able to say what you really mean, because I'm not going to change how you feel.
That's good.
I'm trying to tell you where I'm at. I had a really long conversation yesterday, and I saw myself go up to 1,000 because I was passionate. I was watching it, and then I was like, the old me would have been like, oh, I'm sorry, am I offending you? I was like, nah, man, this is what I feel. This is what you need to do because you asked me. So let me tell you. And then they were like, man, you really, yep, I am. But you asked me.
Yeah.
So, it's all good though.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, my passion is not for you to feel good. My passion is to be effective. That's it.
And I got a call today going, you were really in my butt yesterday. And I was like, I felt bad for a second. He was like, that's all right. You don't need to feel bad. You were telling the truth. I was like, thank you, Jesus. Woo! I have come a long way. Let me just say little victories. Amen.
That's good. It says some people just refuse to learn from certain people because of how they feel about the different nouns in place. That's a valid statement, but it's also it's worth considering the nouns that are used. People aren't offended because I use bad words, because that's very rarely going to be the case. Matter of fact, if I'm doing that, it's because
make a point.
No. If I'm doing that, it's because I have scanned my audience, and that's the only type of language that is receptive to my audience. And that's just the communicator in me. I literally shift, and like a chameleon, I camouflage myself to be a part of the community, because I've been on every aspect, like poor, thug, whatever you want to be. I've been all of that. Businessman, like I can talk business, I can talk intellectual, I can talk street, I can talk, and I'm going to just adjust myself and be the audience that I'm with, so that I can make you feel comfortable about transparency. So oftentimes the thought process of I'm just keeping it real prevents you from getting your message across, because you're so focused on you keeping it real that you miss an opportunity to connect. So just like Michelle said, I empathize, but she said I'm a great empathizer. She wouldn't know that if I didn't, for some way or shape or form, express my empathy. So clearly, to just use words without tact or what have you can be distasteful and cause people to reject you. But some people, they're not even gonna hear you until you hit them with that word or speak to them that way, and they're like, oh shoot, okay, so he can talk to me, and I can, like, if you go to a prison, I can tell you right now, because I minister to people that's in prison. They're not going to listen to you or respect the word that you said unless you've been in prison with them and you can speak to them where they are. So if you're not using their jargon and you're talking from a place that you haven't had their experience, they're not going to be receptive to you. And these past several weeks, I've had guys that have shared so many things that they're not even sharing with their wives in a short period of time, because I shared with them my experiences that allowed for them to be okay with sharing theirs. I said the people addressing the places things are being addressed in and things being addressed. He said, no, not the nouns, i.e. words you use, the nouns, other factors that are actually present. Okay, got it. So yeah, some people are just uncomfortable with the truth and they block it, which we're actually gonna discuss that as well. So letting go of people to gain control of yourself is the first thing. And that's probably the hardest thing, because a lot of times we either want people to like us, which again, I don't care. I like myself. God loves me. my wife and kids like me. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm really okay with them not liking me either, as long as they know and understand that I love them and I'm effective in what it is that I'm trying to be effective about. How they feel about it, it does not, I do not lose sleep. Not even a big sleeper, but I don't lose sleep. I sleep very, very peacefully. So let's go to the next point before I jump on that again. So number 2, let go of euphemisms and excuses to gain control of the actual situation / problem. I'm gonna say that again. Let go of euphemisms and excuses to gain control of the actual situation / problems. What is a euphemism? That is calling something in a nice way to kind of package it up so that it looks better than what it actually is. That's kind of like that whole what do they call, like a janitor, like some kind of engineer. What do they call it?
Facilities engineer.
Something like, again, yeah. So, or yeah, truck driver, anything like just
operator.
There you go. So different. See, we get it because people do it all the time, and the only reason why we typically do it is to feel comfortable about doing or saying something that is just really not comfortable. And the reason why I say you have to let those type of things go, because people just, they feel so uncomfortable when I share it. But I'm like, no matter how you slice it, this is what it is. So person was like, well, yeah, we want you to come to our site, do this thing or show that I'm gonna have you on, and then you can share with your people. It will definitely help you out. And I'm like, so basically you just want to use me to get people to look at your show. And she was like, no. Yes. I said, first and foremost, all right, I'm gonna do it. Second, I'm using you too when I do it. Okay, let's be clear on this. There's nothing wrong with using me, and we have these words that we just try to shy away from or whatever so that and what happens is when the person finds out that you use them as opposed to you telling them that's when they feel betrayed, hurt, and whatever, as opposed to you just being real and honest with them. That allows for them to have a better experience, and that's where it allows the transparency to come into play, and even, for lack of a better term, trust. So
transparency does lead to trust.
Yeah.
And uncomfortableness leads to trust.
Exactly. So
you know what's really cool is somebody who can stay through the uncomfortableness. They gain so much trust when you're watching yourself unravel. And like, which is why I like talking to you. Like, sometimes I'm unraveling and you're like, that's nice. So when you're done, we're going to finish having this conversation. And I'm not changing my mind because you're unraveling. I'm just going to sit here and wait till you're finished. And then I'm going to tell you the same thing. But I needed the unravel. I needed to process, and I needed you to stay there, not to get uncomfortable and be punked by my unraveling and go, oh, should I change my mind? No. Stay on your point.
Hey, I'm laughing at Yvonne too. Yvonne said two-way street. Yes, it is a two-way street. I'm not mad that you're using me, but call it what it is. say that this is what you're trying to do so that we can, like, I'm like, okay, I'm not mad that you're trying to use me. I think that's smart business strategy, but like, call it what it is. Don't
Let's break it down to its lowest common denominator. Usury, mutual use.
Exactly. So let's do that. So I use the softer version of it. I use business, but now let's talk about how we use euphemisms and excuses to avoid things in our everyday lives. So I have people that says, you know, I'm trying to help my spouse. No, you're trying to change him. Let's call it what it is. Like, you know, no, every time I try to help my husband or I try to help my wife, she gets mad and then it turns into an argument. That's because you're trying to change it. Like so you can change it. You can say, well, I think it'll help him to be better. Help basically means that they're lacking something. So you're trying to change them into a better person or whatever. And the minute you can be honest with what you're trying to do is the minute you can more than likely be more strategic on how you present it. But if you
be real concise, you can just say, don't do that.
Yeah, if you keep lying
I don't like it.
about what you're trying to do, your presentation for one is going to be off. You can't even strategize correctly on how to get there. And you're always going to be frustrated because you are using euphemisms to try to make yourself feel better about what you're doing, when in actuality, you just don't like who your husband or your man is, right? And you're trying to change them into this thing. And when I realized certain things that frustrated me about my wife were just really my problems, and I just started dealing with things that I had a problem with, I stopped having problems because I just dealt with it the way that, exactly, it's me, it's my perspective, it's how I'm looking at it. Like when I put it up against what the grand scheme or the actual the picture or the where I'm trying to bring my family and how it does not impact that one iota, there was nothing for me to be frustrated about. So the things that people try to present to me that they are passionate about, this is wrong, if she needs to change this, all I'm asking her to do is this. When you shift your perspective, when you stop trying to make it something that it really isn't or calling it what it is, you have a better chance of identifying how to resolve it. Like in realizing how it's really just not that deep. It's not worth battling over. It's not worth having a problem. Like, for example, y'all heard me say 80% of the time, I'm not sleeping in the same room as my wife. I like silence. She likes noise. Okay. And it's not even necessarily that I have a problem with noise as much as I have a problem with content that I don't have control over getting into my subconscious mind. So, because interestingly enough, when we first got married, I slept and I dealt with the noise, and it was hard to sleep. And that's when I was okay with TV and things of that nature, not really thinking about the impact of it. So when I would sleep after getting married and I went and tried to be in quiet for a while, the silence seemed so loud to me where I had to turn on an actual TV because that relationship that I built with her, it actually changed my appetite, so to speak, which goes back to what I said. If you stop trying to reject people, you'll end up letting them in. And some of the things you actually start adopting and you start changing because you allowed something in. Yvonne said, hold on, I'm sorry. Said, what would be a good an example of such a problem that was really be of your issues and not one of hers? Would be, hold on, with a problem that would be of my issues and not one of hers. Let me think of an issue that was my issue, but it's really not hers. Okay. My wife, she'll wash clothes. She not folding nobody's clothes. Not happening. Not a thing. She's not gonna do it. You can have clean clothes, fold the clothes. They ain't happening. So we will have huge piles of moved clothes around.
But they clean them.
They're definitely clean. And she will navigate to find my children's clothes or outfits or whatever when they were young, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you work in this type of chaos or whatever? So how I mean, I had to get over it. Like that's something that she's never gonna have a problem with that. So why harp on her needing or wanting to fold the clothes? Is that going to change the dynamic of my house? Is that going to ruin my home? Not at all. So I snatched my own clothes out of that whole thing and let you do whatever you want to do with that. When she got sick for about 7 days, though, she was in the hospital with pneumonia years ago, probably 7, 8 years ago. I folded every single pair of clothes, and when she got back home, everything was neatly sorted so that I can function. But if you're going to work in that type of setup, now you got to go get the kids' clothes because I'm not working through that. And guess what? She's fine with that because she can navigate through all of that mess. So we just collaborated and it works well for our household because she can work through it, which gives her more work that she has to do to get the clothes out for me to iron. Because I like to iron. I'm not messing with that. So why get all bent out of shape because she don't like to iron? I mean to actually to fold clothes. It does not change anything. Pointless argument. So that's an example. I hope that helped. She said, I'm campaigning for my own room now. Yvonne, yes. So I sleep in my own office, sometimes in my son's room, in his bunk bed. Like, if I just want that kind of sleep, that's my problem. I'm not going to interrupt her sleep or have an argument. Why don't you watch this? Why don't you do that? No, I'm not doing that. I have the problem. So I remove myself, period. And we live harmoniously together. It's not an issue. So that's an example.
That is the epitome of losing control to gain control. You have brought peace to your home.
Control of myself.
Releasing as an issue. It's not an issue. It's just something I have to adapt to.
Again, but it's also evidence of me loving my wife for who she is. I love her.
Now.
I'm not trying to change her.
She's not a folder. And I love that too. She's not a folder.
She's not a folder. I'm not trying to change her at all. So, and another thing. So I remember one of the first things my mother-in-law said to me. She was like, in our first several years, when you gonna teach her to or get her to start cooking? And I'm like, she ain't cooked before I married her. Like, why would I think my wife gonna start cooking now? She's like, but that's your wife. Exactly. I married her. That's a wifely duty. As a person that doesn't cook. But on the other hand, because my wife loves me so much, she's gotten to a place where she likes to cook for me. So it's like on certain days where I'm just out of it, and to this day I don't get it, because it's not that I articulate it or I share. It would be that day where I'm like, man, I really don't feel like going home and doing anything, and that's the day she's in the house making one of her maybe 5 meals that she can make, and she's making that.
Matter. You don't have to cook that night, and you can still eat.
Yeah, and I don't have to cook that. It's like she just knows, but I've inspired her to cook for me. And there's things that she's inspired me to want to do that I normally wouldn't want to do. But that's from being around her and loving her so much.
Inspiring and action is different than forcing change.
That's of course, most certainly. I mean, whenever you put production in front of what am I trying to say? Whenever you put production in front of just trust, you're going to fail. But when you put trust over performance, performance always follows. You'll ruin the dynamic of the relationship if you try to put performance over trust. But if you put trust over performance, the actual performance is going to always prevail. But when you're trying to force somebody to do something without...
Hashtag 9. Hashtag 9. Performance over trust.
Whenever you trust over... No, it's reversed. Trust over performance, yeah. And oftentimes we try to get people to perform to get trust, as opposed to trusting them, and then that allows them or liberates them to perform for you. But vice versa.
Trust is being okay with the uncertainty before they do perform, right? So because if you trust first, they may not perform right out the gate, but based on exposure and modeling or whatever, like you have to give people the space to step up to perform. It's not an instant thing, and that's what the trust factor. The trust is in the unknown.
Yeah,
that they're not doing the performance.
No certain. So that's an example of euphemism. Now let's talk about excuses, because I'm hearing that a lot now. And yes, so my
I do all this, he don't do all that. I do all this, he not.
Yes, that was a fancy cup. I do have better cups than just my regular Chinese cup. That was my supervisor. She said, "Is that a fancy cup?" I just saw. Yes, I do have multiple, but to upset people and cause conversation starters, I use my Chinese cups. For everything else,
and people know, man, sir. They notice. They notice.
People definitely notice. So let's talk about these excuses. So there's a lot of people. This is gonna make y'all feel uncomfortable, and I love it. A lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, I gotta get out of this house. Oh my gosh, I gotta get these kids out of this house. I gotta get away from my kids." So all this is doing, this whole pandemic, for those of you who have a problem with your house, like I can't be in this house. Oh my gosh, you created the environment that you have in your house. Whatever it is that you have, that is your creation. So the fact that you don't want to be there, or the fact that you don't want to be around your children, is evident that you did not raise them the way that they should have been raised, or up to your standard, or you have created an environment that is not your safe haven. Your home should be your place of peace. You should be leaving places to say, "I can't wait to get home." You should not be at home saying, "I can't wait to get out of home." So you need to really, really do some soul searching to figure out what it is about your environment that you need to come face to face with, so that you can adjust it, so that you can be at peace at your place of peace. And if that means now you have to spend time with your children and address those weaknesses that you've been disregarding and blaming the school system and teachers about, then I'm sorry, but you're going to have to look in the mirror at yourself as a contributor to how it is that you're experiencing your life right now. If you don't like your spouse,
or how you didn't, or how you didn't contribute.
Yeah, or how you didn't. If you don't like your spouse or what have you, like you're going to have to sit in that and figure out what it is that you all need to do to get to a place where y'all like each other. You're going to have these uncomfortable conversations with yourself and your partner right now. And if you're alone and you're ready to get home, you definitely got to have the conversation with yourself. What in the world is it about me that makes me not like being with me? Because one thing I can tell you right now is, in this household, I definitely get my alone time. I definitely get my companion time. But I need my alone time. I have to have my alone time. So I carve out time daily for myself, a minimum of 2 hours with myself every single day. It used to be one day of the week, and then I started to just get overloaded, and then I would miss that day, and then I would snap off on people. So I had to figure out how to get it in every single day, so that my daughter doesn't have to say, "Hey Dad, can I go with you, or is this a day for you?" Because it was understood, and it's even taught, that you have to spend time with yourself. You have to replenish. You have to just spend lonely time with yourself. So my children would say, "Hey Dad, can I come with you, or is this, that's how they hit me with the, you need your time." Yes. But no, I got to a place where I don't have to deny time that my children might want to just ride with me or whatever, because I'm intentional about giving myself that time. He said, "You created the environment." Oh, say that again. That's the truth. Like, if you are upset with being home, that is your home. Like, everything that's set up in there, you did that. So for you not to like that, something's wrong with you. And you need to address that.
I had this really uncomfortable conversation with one of my children the other day, and they were complaining about a situation. And I was like, "But you do realize that some of this is a series of poor decisions.
Most certainly. Most
Because
certainly.
even though they're micro decisions, like you make a million decisions a day, but some of the stuff that you're going through is a series of poor decisions. Well, they did this to me, and they did this to me, and that, and I've been through this, and I was like, I'm not absolving everybody else of responsibility, but there are some of those decisions, or you probably had that little inkling, I shouldn't be here, or maybe I shouldn't go there. You didn't do it. You went anyway. So some of that, you are a series of bad decisions.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was not a comfortable conversation.
Now I'm definitely comfortable with being uncomfortable. But yeah, like we really have to get rid of the euphemisms and the excuses and just call things what they are. And the reason why that's imperative is because you cannot fix what you can't realize is broken. And you can't address or navigate properly not calling stuff what it is. And I promise you, people get more hurt with you trying to mask what's the reality of things are just to make them feel better, as much as they would feel better about you being honest.
It comes out at some point. You can only mask for so long.
Yeah.
And then people feel betrayed. Because why didn't you tell me when you felt it? Why you wait 7 years to tell me this really is getting on your nerves? But again, goes back to your point. Did you accept me for who I was? Because it's quite possible I'll keep evolving and I might be inspired to do something. But if you can't accept me in between, are you loving me?
Yeah.
Are you only loving me on my good behaviors?
Exactly. It's just, I don't know.
Very conditional, right? That's very conditional. If I'm only loving you or loving when you do what I want or do things that I appreciate or I can see, like if I'm only loving you in that space, that's very conditional.
And actually it is a segue in the alley-oop for the third point.
There we go.
Up top, yeah. Which is the third and final one for today anyway, is let go of the illusion of what you don't know to gain control of the perspective of what you do know.
Yeah, slow that down a little more.
I'll say that again.
Go ahead.
Let go of the illusion of what you don't know to gain control of the perspective of what you do know. I'll say that one more time because that is a lot. Let go of the illusion of what you don't know to gain control of the perspective of what you do know.
Got it.
There is a lot of stuff that we do or don't do because of this picture that we create in our mind of this outcome, which in turn is why people oftentimes don't tell the truth, or don't even find out the truth because they've omitted something. So I say all that to say, I'll just jump in with examples of that, which are like people that say this to me all the time. Well, what if I end up alone? You're alone now. You know exactly what that looks like.
I have heard that. By the way, all y'all, I have had this conversation. And it was not comfortable the first 8 times. And I didn't even hear him the first 8 times. It was 9 and 10 when I went, good point. The first 8, I was like, you're not being empathetic. You're not hearing what I'm saying. You're married. What you know about being alone? Like I was all over in that space. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. 9 and 10, I was like, it's true.
But we already have information that we know, and we can draw a better conclusion or a perspective about what is, versus all of these things that we make up. And it's like, yo, you have the truth right in front of you. And again, like we started, what we talked about earlier, choosing people based off of their potential as opposed to who they really are. Like you see who he is. You see who she is.
If somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
And then make a decision, do I love them? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, love that, who they're showing you they are. Exactly. That's the person you need to love.
Yeah. And it's like you have all the evidence. I'm going to talk about this. So we have a lot of printers. I'm about to save somebody some money right now. We have a lot of printers in our home. my wife, she asked me, and I'm gonna answer you, Lisa. I just saw you. I have two different. I have a watch party. I have watch party comments, and I have live video comments. So I flipped through. So I apologize. I see you said, "How do you get comfortable with the uncomfortable?" I'll explain that in a moment. But we have a lot of printers in my house. A lot, probably 6. Um, and my wife was like, "Why do we have so many printers?" Um, and I'm like, first of all, you don't know how many printers we have. We do have a lot, but she just saw that I bought one probably about a month ago, a new printer. She's like, "We already have this beautiful printer. Why did you just buy that printer?" I said, "Because the cost of ink is more than the cost of a printer. So it makes no sense to buy ink for these printers when I could just buy a brand new printer and I get 2 things of ink. Ink costs $40 for one cartridge. The actual printer costs $50. I don't make this up. I just pay attention. So I'm like, so I see them both next to each other. This makes no sense. I need black ink. The black ink is $40. The printer is what you call it. By the time I buy the black ink, I'm gonna need color ink. I pay $10 more. I get a whole new printer. So I buy printers. I don't buy ink cartridges. And she's like, "Who thinks like that?" Well, the real question is, who thinks? And that'll be me. I think all the time. I can't help it. I am not a drifter.
You can sell those other ones if you're gonna keep buying the new ones and make you some money back.
Now, exactly. That's that. Now, it's funny you said that. I literally said that. I said, now, what we can do if you're so interested in getting rid of the printers, is we can sell the ones that we have on eBay, but I don't know how they would feel about. I hope they're smart enough to know that having to put ink in it is going to be more than buying.
Problem to sell. That's you're not vested interest in how they feel.
I mean, yeah. But I said, I mean, I would sell it, but I would be the person that'd be like, "Hold on," but I'll probably sell it for the cost of the ink cartridge for the next one. Yeah. So I have now. The reason why I share that is because my wife was so vested in how this one printer that I just got rid of. She was like, "But it was so nice and sleek, and it had all of these features." And I'm like, "When did you fax something? When did you use the scanner?" Like, it does what you need it to do. Stop trying to fall in love with this big picture or whatever. It is what it is. You just need it to print. Why are you getting so caught up in all these other gadgets that you don't use? We needed a printer because we needed ink. So I got the printer. Get over it.
See that right there? It's that extra get over it. That right there. That's why everybody goes, "What? He just have to do that?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I got you.
Get over it. Lisa says, "We know the answer and assume we don't know the answer." Exactly. You know the answer. No, it's not even that you assume that you don't know. It's you won't accept the answer. Because you don't know something and then assume you don't know. It's I don't know, and I just want to force the lie that I'm telling myself to be true.
Oh, I don't want you to show me up and tell me that I know.
Oh yeah, most certainly.
I don't want to hear that.
So the truth is, my grandfather passed. The truth is, he's gonna be passed this week, which is why I'm like, well, let's do the show. It doesn't change anything. To me, to other people, that's callous. To me, that's just the reality. People be like, "Oh my gosh, he gone too soon. He's 86. If it wasn't COVID-19, it would have been something. He ain't died too soon. He lived 2 lifetimes based on what's going on now. That's the reality. I'm sorry if it sounds insensitive, but one thing I can guarantee.
Did you say you were grateful for the time you did have with him?
I absolutely love my grandfather. Love him. Matter of fact, I'll read you what I wrote on our family, because me and my family, which interestingly enough, a lot of people are doing new things. We always had a location where we all collectively met and we conversed and shared stuff, whether it be Marco Polo or just our group text. Right now, the content has just changed when it came to my grandfather, but the location and what we didn't change. We were already a close knit people who were, like I said, private. Like, you don't see me posting about my grandfather died and think that's just not me. Like, you won't know unless you. And I have so many people. You didn't tell me an author, okay? You were an author. When would I tell you? Who just randomly says, "Hey, by the way,
an author."
like I'm a published author"? No. The only time you'll hear something from me is if it aligns with what's going on with you, and it will help you, because I'm really interested in helping people, not helping myself. Now, oftentimes from my type of help, it typically benefits me, but that's just not. Again, that's the trust over the productivity, and from that I get the productivity. Okay, so this is what I put in our group response. It says, I was fully aware that it was getting nearer to Granddad's departure when he was diagnosed with dementia, and I began hearing the stories about him through you all afterwards. I said, I was intentional about not seeing him during his declining season. I chose to fence in the memories in my subconscious that keep me smiling, while avoiding the possibility of any memories that would make me sad or want to rescue him, knowing that I couldn't. Sayings and mannerisms that I used to do to imitate him to make people laugh are now things that people indirectly point out that I do like him without me realizing that I'm doing them. I thought that I was joking, not practicing. He definitely lives on and has impact. And his impact runs deep. Some batons are passed on to you without you even noticing. I'm glad to have been one of the recipients of Granddad's many batons. I went from imitating to being, and I will continue to share long prayers, because my granddad was a long, long prayer, especially at the dinner table. When we're like, oh my gosh, did he just say, thank you, Lord, for the fan? So then it says, I say all that to say that I share your sentiments, Uncle Kenny. That was my uncle who had shared a previous post. And then I put signing off as the original Mr. Hollywood. My grandfather called his grandsons Mr. Hollywood. I was his first grandson. And so a lot of people adopted that as all that was their thing. No, it wasn't. Granddad started that with me. And to be perfectly honest with you, if you really knew Granddad, that was just his way of saying, I don't know your name. So sorry for those.
I'm gonna make up one. I got this. I'm gonna make up.
Sorry for those who I ruined that sentiment for, who just thought that granddad thought you were cool. He just didn't know your name. So it's just like my dad, who called people baby, women baby all the time. He didn't know your name. So which is actually, interestingly enough, why my wife does not let me call her baby. And I call her bae for short, which is acceptable, because that used to be what I used to do. Used to call women baby, or even guys baby. It depends on how you say it. It just doesn't seem as like, well, did you just call me baby? I'm like, what's up, baby? What's going on? I have no idea what your name is. It's just my way of you feeling good about me not knowing. What would you call that? A euphemism. But I have grown to where I've taken the time to learn people's names so that I don't have to use different things to hide or mask the truth. Now I just say, I'm sorry, I'm really terrible with names. What's your name again? And then we move forward. But again, illusions of what you don't know to gain control of the perspective of what you do know. So things that you might conclude cause me to be callous or have Asperger's, you might want to ask me why it does not move me the way that it moves you, so that you can have a better understanding of why I haven't been down or up to New Jersey to see my granddad. Now, those who are like, well, Dad, he knows he's getting to that age. Now, those who read my post understand and can appreciate why I didn't do it. Again, I'm very protective of my subconscious. I love the memories that I have of my granddad. I don't want any memories of him forgetting that he just was talking about something or asking me the same thing over and over again. That's not a good memory. I literally would listen to my mom and them. They were like, you need to come see your granddad. He's like this, and they give me all these examples. I'm like, you want me to go to see that? Like, you just sold me. Like, if I was considering going, now that I know that, I'm not going. It's like my mom, she's like, you don't watch the news. That bothers me. You need to watch the news because you need to know what's going on. She's like, what if an asteroid was coming and it's going to hit the earth? I don't want to know that. I'm like, that's a good reason for me not to watch the news. Thanks, Mom. You helped me for at least another 10 years to not want to watch the news. But things that people get all emotional about, like my logic and philosophy behind it, allows for me to just accept it for what it is and navigate in a manner that I guess makes me seem callous, when in actuality, again, I've considered how you felt. I'm just not invested. I'm not vested.
Is it really callous or is it really consistent? I don't think it's callous. I think it's consistent. And I think that when you have gotten used to inconsistency, you can misjudge what consistency really is. I mean,
and also what's crazy too is we've gotten so accustomed to seeing things so out of whack that that's what we adopt as normalcy, when in actuality it's the people's responses that are opposite of mine that technically are not what's considered or supposed to be normal. So and what I mean by that, for example, like typically, like you're supposed to cry when a baby is born and celebrate when a person passes, because the baby coming into this world is, and they're about to go through some serious hurt, harm, all the things that we lie to protect people from, because we are scared to hurt them. But to leave this place based off of my faith is to be the beginning of something wonderful. That's something worthy of rejoicing. And as I stated earlier with COVID-19, it was hard for my mom and them. They couldn't deal with or be with my grandfather. When my grandfather was first diagnosed, he was diagnosed with pneumonia. We were like, yes, thank you. Good. Imagine that. To find out that an 85-year-old man has pneumonia. We're like, pneumonia. Thank you, God. Pneumonia. And it's like, pneumonia is horrible. But that's how bad COVID-19 has been. And then when it got down to his last days, we were like hoping that he passed, because we were hating that he was suffering. Hearing about all the pain meds that they were trying to put him through, putting him on the ventilator so that he can breathe, and his discomfort, not to mention being on dementia. So mentally, you probably waking up and not understanding why you have stuff on you. You can't breathe. Like, that is not something we wanted. So we, as a family, to lose him, we were relieved, and we were happy for him to not have to go through that. Not many people could say that, but again, that comes from a wisdom and a thought process that allows for me to be considerate of feelings.
That's your perspective of what you do know.
Exactly. Perspective. Exactly. With the perspective of what you do know. So these things I do know allow for me to experience this in a manner. And that's what's happening. People's perspective are shifted to unknown things, and they're allowing that to dictate and determine their
to the point almost where peace in this time is looked at as chaotic, when it's actually, we ought to, you know what I mean? Like, your internal driver is really what this is. We're not driven by all this stuff outside of us. I can only control what I can control, and I'm only the space that I'm in. The pandemic is not in my house.
Indirectly, that's what I was trying to say earlier, and I could not articulate that. Yeah, the chaos is what people are looking for me to adopt, and I look like I'm the one with the problem because I have that peace that passes or surpasses all understanding because of the information that I know. It's just like I stated many a times before. You have some people, when a dog runs at them because they see his tail is wagging, they're like, oh, look at the cute dog. Whereas somebody that's scared of dogs because of what they said about dogs and because their lack of knowledge that if a dog is wagging his tail, he's coming to jump and love on you and lick on you or whatever, or to even play, they're terrified. So I am the person that is responding off of information that I know that you might want to ask me before you conclude that I have Asperger's.
Don't forget Lisa's question.
Oh, so Lisa, she stated, before I conclude, because I'm pretty sure I'm way over time. I don't have a clock or anything.
10 minutes overtime.
All right, so Lisa said, how do you get comfortable with the uncomfortable? That's a great question. So the way that you get uncomfortable with the uncomfortable is to consistently do the uncomfortable things so that you can see that the result of it is not what you thought it would be. So
it reduces your resistance. It reduces your fear factor.
Exactly. It wasn't that bad. Not to mention when I get a response, then I have something to work with. It's not having a response that leaves me without any control. So if I say this to you and then you go off, okay, I can work with that because I know how you feel about it. Whereas if I'm assuming something, I don't say anything to you, I don't have any kind of control in that type of environment. So I'd rather know so that I can respond as opposed to not knowing and not even know what you're thinking, doing, feeling, or whatever. But 9 times, and I'm confident in this 9 times out of 10, all the things that I was worried about when I went and I approached it, it was nowhere near as bad as what I thought. Like, our imaginations are amazing. That's why if you read a book and then you see a movie, it's like, this movie sucked. Because the way that you saw it in your mind, it trumps any kind of experience that you can have. And that's what, it paralyzes us from experiencing life. Because we get so caught up in our mind.
It's powerful enough to either paralyze us from experiencing life or allowing us to see life in the way that makes it the most amazing adventure ever. It is our opportunity to choose which way we see that, because we do have control over our mind. You do have control over the script that's playing in your head. And the fact that when you don't believe you do is when you're out of control, because you think that it's just in there. It's in there. No, it's in there because of all the things that you've experienced. You change the experience, you change the story.
And speaking of that, which I'm going to end on going back to number 2. What's the truth is, we keep on blaming people or trying to change people because we're too lazy to put in the work to change ourselves.
Now there is a hashtag 9, 10, and 11.
We're too busy trying to change people because we're too lazy to put in the work to change ourselves. And it's easier to say that she has a problem or he has a problem because then they have to fix it for the problem to be gone. And it puts a lot of work and a responsibility on you when you say that I have a problem, and I have to change me in order for me to get rid of this as a problem. A lot of people, when they play the no love board game, they're like, yo, hold on, this card just told me that I need to look at it this way when I was the victim of this. Now that I'm the victim of it, now it's telling me I need to look at it a certain way this way. Now, yeah, you know why? Because if you take care of all the stuff that you got a problem with, all the stuff that's wrong with you, 80% of the problems that you have in your relationship will be resolved. We're so busy trying to wait till somebody else gets their act together before we get our act together, when that's just not the reality of of how life works. So many people want to be a boss. Like, this bleeds over into everything. It's like, okay, when I get some more money, then I'll start investing. Then I'll start tithing. No, you won't, because you don't even have money now, and you won't do something small with what you have right now. If you want to be something, be it where you are right now. If you want, the minute you start loving her the way that you will, when she starts doing this, she'll start doing this. When you start doing that thing that you'll start doing when he starts doing this, he'll start doing this. And where everybody's waiting. Y'all all are thinking the same thing. She's saying when he gets this act together, I'll get my act together. And he's saying when she get her act together, I'll get my act together. So guess what? Nobody gets their act together. So you be first. You be first. and then you'll get control over the situation. You know why?
The change you want to see.
Exactly. Not to mention when you have no kind of control over a situation when you are a problem. And what I mean by that is, how can I come to you and say, hey, I have a problem with what you're doing. I need you to work on this when you have problems of your own. So if you start working on your stuff, it's easier for you to say, hey, I don't ask for nothing. I'm doing such and such and such and such, and I need you to do this. They'll be more receptive because they're not thinking in the back of their mind, no, this fool didn't just ask me to do that when he's doing this, or he's doing this, or they can think of something that's similar to what you're asking them to start or stop doing. Get your stuff together. And it allows for you to have better, hard conversations that will be more weighty when you ask for change. And it will automatically inspire them to change because they're like, dang, man, like all the stuff he or she do, the least I could do is this. And let me show you, and this I'm going to end because I'm getting passionate. But when I'm thinking about like love, what love is and how people don't realize how powerful it is. When you get to a place where you'll feel sorry for the person that wronged you or leave you, that's when you're loving correctly. Like if my wife left me, like I'd feel sorry for who she's going to end up with because I know what I'm pouring into my wife and my family, it more than likely would hurt me at first, but like I'd be like, hold on, I know what I've invested and put into this. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people, like I have a post on YouTube that says how to get revenge on your ex. And I get so many hits and comments on it. And the revenge that I help them realize is you got revenge when you were with them. And what I mean by that is if you were a great person, if you were this wonderful person that you claim that you were, then if they leave you, they can't unexperience what they experienced with you. They can't unsee what they
be comparing. They will always
always have to compare that with whomever they end up with. Mm-hmm. That is torture if you were a great person. If you loved them unconditionally, if you took care of them. It's not going to work if you were trash. It ain't going to work.
Trash. He said trash.
Trash. It's so many people that just swear how they were just this great person. And I'm like, in the grand scheme of things.
Were you really though?
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, stop it. But if you were a great person, I'm not saying that you aren't hurt. But if you think about it, when they go somewhere else, which I can tell you right now, I have a lot of exes that are like, man, and they talk to me and they're like, I have exes whose mothers call me and talk to me about their daughters. And how crazy, like, I don't know what she was thinking, whatever, but it is what it is. And I'm grateful that I had the experiences because it allowed for me to evolve into who I am. So I'm grateful for those who hurt me in the process to allow me to get the wisdom that I have now. But they are regretting it because of what I've poured in and invested in them. So when you get to a place where you'll feel sorry for who leaves you as opposed to bitter, that's when you have loved them to the epitome and the essence of what love really is. So that's it. To let go. Yeah, they're like, let go to gain control is to let go of all the things that you are trying to control outside of yourself so that you can control how you feel, how you love, and how you navigate through this thing called life, so that you can be honest with yourself, honest with people, and which in turn will allow for people to gravitate to you, and they will also in turn learn to be honest and loving as well.
Amen.
And that's it. That's all I got. Love y'all.
Yeah.
Till we meet again. Y'all be easy.
Don't forget to check the post.
Oh, the post.
In the
post.
feed. If
yes.
you're interested, check the post. Just
Saturday. Just go to the page. The link is there for you to register. Please register so we can have this table talk, converse, discuss anything. I don't care, like whatever you want to ask me. And I'm gonna tell you right now, please take advantage of it because I have clients where I charge a lot of money for them to ask certain types of questions, and I'm doing this what they call pro bono. So whatever you have, whatever you can think of, bring it to the table. We're gonna chop it up. We're gonna talk about it. But I have one disclaimer only. And that is, if you don't want the truth, don't ask the question, because you you are going to get the truth. That's the only way that we can grow. No euphemisms and no excuses. So again, go to my link, register so that we can all talk on Saturday morning, chop it up, grow. Love to get it. I'm confident it won't be the last. But I'm just so
Bring your
appreciative.
orange juice and your biscuits and sit down and chill out. We're gonna have a good time.
Bring whatever your food of choice.
Yes.
Yeah. So that you like the people that we were with, they were drinking wine and all kinds of stuff.
It's a relax.
Whatever gets you to the place where you'll be comfortable and loose in yourself. Drink that, bring that, eat that, whatever it is. But we'll be there on Saturday looking for you. Any closing remarks, Miss Michelle?
No.
No.
Amen.
I love y'all. Y'all be safe. Take care. Peace.
Bye.